Welcome to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Reynolds, and this is my 1957 Wondercraft. And I made a discovery / decision this week about continuing with my varnish versus the white paint that goes on these areas here, down the king plank, down the dash, off to the hatch area. I was thinking this might happen. I was prepared for it. It happened, so now I'm going to make a decision. So in putting the white lines under the epoxy, they were beautiful white. They, under the two-part epoxy, they were a little bit more amber. And then when I did a test, I have the same brand of paint. Pettit EZ-Poxy is also the same color as the white lines that is done by Interfanes when you do the white decking. There's a specific paint that you can use for that. The white is dead on with that versus the Pettit EZ-Poxy white, which I happen to have a can of. So in doing a comparison, if I do these covering boards and king plank in any white, I mean, even if I tried it a couple of off-white colors I have, and they're never going to match these white lines with 1, 2, or 3 coats of clear varnish. So in the spirit of keeping that going, I need to put on the white paint now, and then I will finish the boat with 2 or 3 more coats of varnish. So the white lines will have a slight amber tint to them, as will the covering board and the king plank. I need to do that to make them look good. Otherwise, it looks terrible. White against amber is not what I want. So, while a little unorthodox, maybe, paint and varnish are very close when it comes to what they are. One has a lot of pigment in it, a color, and one of them doesn't. So they're very close in how they attach, how they sand, how they look. So, like it or not, I'm going to put paint on this area, and then I'm going to cover it in 2 to 3 coats of varnish. At least everything will match. And then I'll go ahead and be done with the varnish and do that. So today I'm going to put on the Topside primer I have from Total Boat, which matches up really well. I've used this with Pettit, had no troubles. So I'm going to put the Topside primer on the king plank, the covering boards, and the inside of the coamings, which are black. So I've got white, and then I've got black on the inside. So I'm just going to do the primer all at once, because a couple coats of primer, and then I can do black and white depending on what I want to do. But I'll probably do the black first, finish up with the white, and go ahead and be done with this project. So I'm going to go ahead and get the primer on today, and then I will show you a little bit of how that works. So to repeat, I'm going to be using the Total Boat brand of their Topside primer, which when compared to Pettit is the same thing from the best I can tell. And I used it once before on a wage maker project, worked perfect. So what I'm going to do is just simply put it on like paint. This is the first time I've had paint on this area since I took the boat apart in 2002. So it's so nice to see this. And it's a really nice primer. I'll probably be putting my mask on shortly when I get done talking with you, because it does get a little stinky, and it is primer, and that's what primers do. So I spent this morning putting the fine line tape on and then sanding areas really close to the fine line tape so that the varnish was at least abraded so that it'll take paint. So I've got that already done. And I'm going to probably put at least 2 coats of this. I have a really beautiful surface underneath that is going to allow me not a lot of follow-up work because it is so smooth already. Remember, it's got 3 coats of epoxy, and in some areas it's got 3 coats of the two-part varnish, so it really helped flatten it out. So I'm really looking forward to getting this on quite quickly this week, and then getting some paint on this boat that is permanent instead of just primers and one more coat of epoxy or one more coat of that varnish. I'll be able to go ahead and get my varnish all ready to go and get it. I'll be laying it over the whole deck at the same time, so there won't be any ridges here. So it's working out quite well. I got there probably later than I should have, but the decisions I make on this boat really allow me to make good decisions on other people's boats, clients' boats. So I'm really happy with that. So it's always been an experiment boat, so I'm okay with that. So I'm going to do more of this, and I'm going to get this primer on, and we're going to let her dry and then hit it again tomorrow. So this will be it for the deck. I still have to do the white stripe that runs down the middle of the hatch, and that will be the first coat of primer on the boat. Looking really looking forward to getting the white on this. I'll do at least one more coat of primer just to make sure it's flat, but it's really flat right now. And that's all the prep I did over these many months, as you've been witness to. So that'll really make this a lot easier. Not sure, I think here I got into the paint when I should have left it alone, and it came up. So I'll have to go sand this, and then I'll go ahead and put another one on. So I'm going to do the deck, and I will see you during the sanding process. So this is the second coat of the primer on the inside of the cockpit, which is called the coaming. Sometimes coamings are proud of the deck. This one is the inside coaming. So just going to scuff this up with 320. After the second coat, or after the first coat, I had some tiny indentations, or between the deck and the inside coaming, I had a gap maybe between the plywood. So I went ahead and filled that because I do not want any water to get in at this level. And this is where water will get in. There'll be a piece of trim here, which potentially could trap water then into that. Now, the holes have been pre-drilled. They have both epoxy in them and now paint. And then when I put the aluminum trim on here, they'll have dolphinite bedding compound. So there's things yet to come, but I want to do as much as I can. So what I'm going to do is sand these and then paint them the black. This is traditionally where they were black, and then these will be white. I'm having some trouble with paint not sticking in like 4 or 5 areas, and I'm not sure why. I think there's a chemical in the plywood that looks like when I put the primer on, it bubbles up like a heat gun, or paint strippers under there. It looks just like it. So I'm assuming there's a chemical not working well with the primer, and it's only in a few spots. So I'm going to clean those out with 80 grit, and I'm going to put in some Smith's penetrating epoxy sealer to seal in whatever is happening under that wood and keep it. And then I'll give a surface for painting, and I will see what happens. I'll probably go ahead and put paint, majority of the white on, just so you can see it, because I'm going to be addressing that issue beyond when the video is due out. So it will look really good with the white and the black, but you might see some repairs going on. So I'm going to go ahead and get the black on here, And this will not be the black that I use on the outside of the hull. That's Alexia, which is usually used with aluminum or glass. I have not used it on wood, and I'm predicting, because this is where it is, the Pettit's white, I'm sorry, it's going to be Interlux white here and Pettit's black. And because it's going to get abused, there's going to be a lot of people in and out of the boat. It's just an area that's going to get a lot of wear. So I'm more comfortable with the Pettit black and the Interlux white to do repairs and to polish. So I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to a traditional wood paint for this wood deck area, and should be okay with that. So I'm going to get to putting the black paint on. Here is the boat with the newly painted Coamings. It'll look a lot better when we get the blue tape off and all the things that are just protecting the varnish coat. You can see a couple spots there where I found a ding or two, and I thought, oh, I'm going to fix them now. Jet black paint is horrible if you think you're going to cover anything up. So I needed to get at it right now. I'll just do a quick patch. It should cover well, but I'll make sure I get those at least one more and then two. So I'll let that dry overnight, and then in the morning I'll go ahead and put on a light sand, and I'll put on a second coat, and we'll see if that does it, or maybe we'll go to 3. So I got the bubbling primer thing figured out. I went ahead and sanded it again, cleaned it with acetone, and then I, like, not drops, but I put a cloth on it, soaked it into the wood, and then let it dry for a couple days. And it must have eliminated the either a glue or a varnish or a paint or some sort of substance that was not allowing my primer to stick, and it was bubbling like paint stripper almost. So that seemed to do it. Acetone has a pretty good reputation for drying out wood, because it does. It dries out your hands, wood, anything. And I think what it did, it got in there and it neutralized and then dried out the chemical that I was fighting with. So happy that worked. Now I'm going to put on the Pettit EZ-Poxy white. It's I have the EZ-Poxy black on the inside already. So I've got this all sanded with 320, and then I went ahead and took paint thinner and cleaned it, and then let it dry thoroughly. So now I'm just going to go put the white on here, and you're going to start to see what I've been hoping to see for decades, is the white king plank and sideboards to this paint, or this boat, using this paint. This is going to take several coats, I believe. I always say, oh, it's going to take several coats, and you get to 2 and you're like, oh gosh, that looks pretty good. So I'm thinking probably 3 or 4, because I'm going to be working on this with a sander to get it smooth. So I'm pretty sure it's going to take more than 2. So I'm going to get at this. I'm going to take the bubbles out, just dragging the foam brush over the top. And this is probably a little extreme for coat 1, but it keeps you in practice. So I'm going to keep going on this, and then I'll check back when I'm get farther down the road. This paint is going on really nice. I'm really impressed with the EZ-Poxy line from Pettit. This is my 3rd boat that I've used it on, and just never disappointed. And as I've discovered on the other boat that I've currently got working on, the mystery boat, you can polish it. It has a polyurethane hardness that reminds me of like some 2-part polyurethanes I've used, like on this boat, that you can polish, and leaves you a lot of leeway later on when you hope you get a flat surface. There's even an additive that you can use with the EZ-Poxy, and I think it's a bubble popper was probably what it is. I think once the other brands like, well, obviously Alexial had it for this boat, and then I noticed that Interfanes or Interfanis, they have one out now that you can use, and I mean that's great. It's going to help a lot of paint brands give boat restorers some really nice paint to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. This is going quite nicely, covering really well. I can see that I'm going to have to sand it, but what else is new? It's a boat. So I'm going to work on this covering rail, and I'll check back in a minute. So I'm almost done with the first coat of white. Another one of those milestone type things on my checklist. I might still work on the black a little bit. There's some areas that I'm a little sanding, but they're so small that I can do them relatively easily while I'm working on getting these white paint layers up. So I'm gonna finish this up and letting everything do a whole day dry, and then I'll go ahead and give it a sand, drag, and then over these bubbles, they just pop so easily. I'm curious whether they would pop. If it was a little warmer in my shop, I have it at 65. I think at 70 it would probably pop. These on their own. Or if I put the additive in, which I will be doing, probably coats 3 and 4. I'll save the additive and put them in then, because if you're going to use the additive, you might as well try to make that the last coat. And if it doesn't do well, thin it up. The additive will help thin it too. I'll play with it a couple times, and if it doesn't thin it up to the point where it flattens out, again, I can always hit it with 400 grit sandpaper, work my way up through the wet grits, and then buff polish it. So, but remember, on top of this has to go the varnish. So I think it's going to be pretty flat in the end with the varnish going on, but I'll work at it. So gonna let that dry and do coat number 2 tomorrow. Well, there you have it. The deck paint is now done. There's a few areas like here I must have just hit it with the roller just a little bit too much. But remember, this has a coat of varnish on it, and this is all going to get sanded back. And what I'll do is I'll take this ridge off between the two finishes, and then I'll start laying on the Epiphanis clear final varnish, which is a 1-part. And that's where the yellow tones or the amber tones will match. This is why I'm doing this. So you can see the strike, or I think you can see the striking difference in the white to white paint, which is the same brand, when you put a little bit of varnish on it. So the goal is to bring that back. We're going to bring this down with a little bit of light sanding with 400, this, and then I'll put on 2 or 3 coats of the Epifanos clear varnish, and we'll get the same tone throughout the boat, which is fine. It'll match better to the interior upholstery, bringing the tone down a little bit. The white on the bottom of the boat is so far away that there shouldn't be any too many comparisons. And a lot of the white on this boat is below the waterline, so you won't see it. Maybe a little on the trailer, not very much in the lake, obviously. So, yeah, very happy with this. I've got some areas, like I said here, that'll come out with a sander. And then along the edge, between the white and the black, there's a piece of aluminum trim. And during the process, a little bit of the epoxy got onto the tape. So it's almost like this connection is too good. So I'm going to have to lightly sand that edge to break it so that I don't chip the white paint. They're connected so much now that I have to be careful not to bring up one with the other. So I'll hit this with some light 400, tape it down here. There's a nice strip, so whatever I sand won't show anyways, but I'll just lightly sand it. And then I'll come back and polish this area and then wax it. And then, which is probably why this didn't stick, or why this is still sticking. I was careful not to get the wax above this shear line onto my deck because I knew that would definitely screw up your paint. So, I mean, there's an eighth of an inch. I got to deal with it. So I'll tape that. I'll sand it, then I'll buff it out, and it'll be fine. And then a beautiful piece of trim goes over that. So real happy with it. It was interesting. I had to find out about the color tone issues late in the game, but I was able to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and call this video done, and the next video will be, I'll have the varnish already on, everything ready to go. It'll be done. The boat will be done, and I will be putting on the hardware, adding in the steering wheel. I might have a separate steering wheel video. I'm not sure. I'm going to see how long it really is. If it's not long enough, I won't bother. And then go ahead and put the chrome back on, all the trim, and put the seats in and hook up all the electrical so that you can see the lights come on. And I'll have the motor on there. It's still quite chilly in Michigan, so I don't really want to run it outside and then have to winterize it possibly. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe we'll be lucky. First Wednesday in May, maybe we'll have some nice weather and I can do just a short test outside and you hear it running. Again, weather dependent. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in a month. That's the plan. Got some other things going in my life with a nonprofit I work with, so kind of busy with that. And then I hope to get back onto the 2-week schedule. If you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. It's nice to have you join the other 800 so people that have joined me for years now. And if you're liking it or finding it entertaining, please hit the like button. It's always nice to receive positive feedback. And until the next video, take care.